The Nintendo Switch and handhelds in general now have two of the big three that a lot of people look back on as inspiration and the starting point of the popularity of first-person shooters. For Doom, we've got the Switch ports of 1, 2, and 64. Then we get onto Wolfenstein, which we sort of have in the form of the modified minigames from Wolfenstein 2 and Youngblood. That leaves Duke Nukem 3D, which is a little bit weird on handhelds. If you recall, the PS Vita got a port of Megaton Edition, which was pretty fun, but was quickly removed from the PlayStation Store when its license ran out not long after release. So let's hope this new version that's just come out for the Switch will last a little bit longer than that did. Here is my review of Duke Nukem 3D 20th Anniversary World Tour for the Nintendo Switch. The story of Duke Nukem 3D is pretty simple. Aliens are invading Earth, and the action hero Duke Nukem has to take up arms to repel the invasion. Now, like the old Wolfenstein 3D and classic Doom games, there isn't really that much in terms of story here. It's mostly gameplay, but this franchise does do a lot in terms of dialogue throughout the entire game from Duke Nukem himself. And as I said earlier, he is an action hero and is based on many 80s action movies. So you can expect to hear a lot of 80s action movie quotes as you play, which isn't exactly an extensive story, but it does keep it entertaining as you explore the levels. When it comes to gameplay, just like all other incarnations of this original shooting game, this is a first-person shooter. Now, first of all, every new version of Duke Nukem 3D seems to change up what expansions are and are not available. So let's start there. 20th Anniversary World Tour basically has the quote-unquote main story campaigns. From LA Meltdown all the way to a new scenario called Alien World Order that the original development team was brought back in to make. As such, many of the expansions that are available in Megaton Edition are not available in this edition. And while that is a bit disappointing, on the bright side, they did go all out with the multiplayer, offering both local co-op and versus as well as online co-op and versus. And in terms of features, the rewind feature from Megaton Edition returns. This allows you to basically rewind the game when you die and replay the last segments so you can do better. Then you've got the cheat menu, which you can go into to activate God mode, all weapons, and even no clipping mode and stage select. But my favorite new addition is the director's commentary. This allows you to explore the stages and interact with little icons so you can hear the game developers talking about the stage you're going through. This isn't just them talking about the designs of the levels either. They'll often talk about why they made certain buildings the way they did to avoid copyright from various companies around the world, along with what little cosmetic posters and whatnot are references to. Now, when you actually dive into the game and start exploring the levels, it progresses very similar to the classic Doom games. You're placed in pretty large 3D levels, and your goal is to explore around to find keys to unlock doors, all the while finding firearms to take down the large amount of enemies the game constantly throws at you. This of course leads to a pretty fair amount of difficulty, especially in the Alien World Order campaign, which seems pretty intent on throwing pretty late game enemies and bosses at you very early. The rewind feature can definitely help you with this when you die, as well as the cheat menu, which has the same code for activating it as in the PS4 version. The game doesn't really tell you how to do this, but anytime during gameplay, you can hit down, Y, R3, and right to open up the cheat menu. Though it's worth noting that if you use any of these cheats, it will disable the rewind feature. Now, if you want some help without using cheat methods like rewind and the cheat menu, you can also rely on the game's excellent motion controls. Not only does the game have good and responsive motion aiming, but it uses gyro instead of the IR camera. This means you'll have very smooth and responsive motion controls even on the Nintendo Switch Lite. Now, as this all comes together, despite not having the expansions from Megaton Edition, you still got 5 pretty in-depth campaigns for you to go through. This will easily get you at least 20 hours of content for a measly $10. 5 if you bought it on pre-order like I did. And since we already talked about the motion controls, let's go right into presentation. Visually, the sprite work looks just as good as it always has, and true 3D mode definitely helps it with depth. This allows you to hit down on the D-pad or arrow buttons and changes the placement and angles of all of the 2D sprites, especially in the environments, to make them look more 3D. And as far as performance is concerned, I don't have any complaints. Load times are short, the frame rate normally stays around 60 frames per second, not diving that much lower. So let's get out of this and right into battery life. On the original model, Duke Nukem 3D has a battery range of 4 hours and 9 minutes up to 6 hours and 8 minutes. On the Nintendo Switch Lite, it has a range of 4 hours and 18 minutes up to 6 hours and 12 minutes. And on the Redboxer V2 2019 model, it has a range of 6 hours and 13 minutes up to 6 hours and 44 minutes. In conclusion, Duke Nukem 3D has returned to handhelds and will hopefully remain here longer than the Vita version of Megaton Edition did. Now, the downside, this version opts to only having the main story expansions, and we don't get any of the extra campaigns that were in Megaton Edition. But what we do have here plays wonderfully, and having fully online multiplayer versus in co-op definitely gives this an edge over the classic Doom games. Reviews to Go rates Duke Nukem 3D 20th Anniversary World Tour for the Nintendo Switch a 9.5 out of 10. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. Thanks for watching and have a great day.